Hi, today I'm going to talk about how to make this year-long achievement calendar where what you do each day is marked by these special tokens. Hi, welcome to Gray Lightning, my video blog about making things and playing games. And my project for today is this year-long achievement calendar. Now, this is not really a gaming project, but it incorporates my favorite gaming component, which is custom tokens. So basically the way this works is that I've got the months of the year engraved across the bottom, and I've got the days of the month from 1 up to 31 on the side. And then each month has a channel in the acrylic where the tokens drop for that month. So then I've created 4 sets of custom tokens. I've got blue ones for I meditated only. I've got orange ones for I exercised only. I've got yellow ones for yay, I did them both, which I'm supposed to. And I've got clear ones for oh no, I didn't do anything. And basically at the end of the day, I pick out the right achievement token and I drop it into my monthly slot. And because it goes from 1 to 31, it drops into the right place. So I'm going to talk about how I designed this in Adobe Illustrator, how I cut the parts on a laser cutter at my local makerspace, and some important lessons I learned during assembly that would not only make it easier to assemble, but I'm actually going to recut some of these components and do it again because I learned some things that'll make it work better, and I'll describe all of that in this episode. The design of the tokens is pretty straightforward. These are 1/2 inch diameter tokens, and I found simple black and white clip art for each of the images. So this is the meditation token. The red line is a cut line, the blue line is an engraving line, and this is the token for exercise. This is the token for I did them both. And then for the blank ones, I'm just going to use an outer circle with no image inside. I take a single design and then make many copies of it for a cut sheet like this, where I'm cutting these out of fluorescent acrylic. I do an initial layout of my overall project, and I did a stack of 31 tokens, and then I started to put the labels in, and I quickly realized I was going to have an issue here because they had to line up with the stacked tokens. And that meant I had to account for kerf, which is the width of the cut made by the laser. Now, that's not very big, but when you multiply it by 61, that's significant. I could try to calculate that, but the easiest thing is just to do the project in stages, actually cut the tokens, and then use them to measure and design the calendar. So that's what I did. Here's the laser cutter working on a set of tokens. I then always soak the tokens in simple green overnight. At that point, the paper is pretty easy to remove, but I use a wooden chopstick for the tougher ones. And then I have a series of kind of water baths to get the simple green smell off of them, and then I dry them on paper towels. I cut about 250 of each token. I use my quilt rulers to lay them out, and look at the ruler on the top here. 31 tokens is just shy of 15 inches. That means I lost a full token to kerf because it should have been 15 and a half. And that meant I had to go back and adjust my labels down to fit into that space. I used my alignment and spacing tools to do that. I always do my designs with the grid on, but I'll turn it off just to make it easier to see here. And this is the front wood portion. This is all cut out of 1/4 inch plywood. My labels on the side, across the bottom, I left 1 inch on the bottom to fit inside the base. I'm also using 1/4 inch acrylic, so I need to leave space for the acrylic to slide down in. And that's what these center spacers are for. I'm cutting 2 of them. They're flush with the opening on the bottom, but they're cut 1/2 inch in on each side to leave a groove for the acrylic to fit into. And then I'm going to have a back that looks a lot like the front, except I'm going to actually flip this over so that when it's cut on the laser cutter, the clean side is to the back. Then I designed the base. It's going to have a solid bottom and then 4 layers of this piece that has a slot big enough to hold the 4 layers of wood. Now, I'd already figured out in my initial layout how much space I needed to have 12 columns and spacers in between, but now I have to actually draw that on this acrylic that is going to fit inside my wood frame. So you can see it fits in 1/2 inch into the frame on either side, and if you just look at the front clear acrylic, I have blue engraving lines that are going to guide me in the fusing of the bars. These columns where the tokens are going to drop are just slightly larger than the 1/2 inch token size. I'm also using the 1/4 inch clear acrylic to cut the bars themselves, and that's just a little bit bigger than the 3/16 inch acrylic I used for the tokens. The final piece is the black acrylic back that's going to make the tokens show up better, and that's going to be fused to 2 outer ribs and a center rib to hold it in place. Acrylic comes with paper on both sides, and I always leave it on when I'm doing my engraving and cutting because there's less smoke damage. With wood, you can apply paper masking yourself or you can clean it after cutting. I assemble the wood pieces I can in advance. Here I am doing the base. I'll clamp that and set that aside. And also the front and middle of the frame I can do. But then I need to stop because the acrylic, as this is designed, is inset in the frame, and I apply the back last. It's important to clean the interior parts of the acrylic first because once this is assembled, you won't be able to get in and do that. So I use this cleaner throughout the assembly process. The clear bars have a curve to them. I put that curve up so that when I weld it, I can push down on the center and fuse it in place. I'm working on black so that I can see my engraving lines more easily, and I align the ends and then I work towards the center and hold it down. And I was really terrible at this when I started, but I got much better as time goes on. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of learning works. I'm using Weld-On chemical solvent to do the fusing. The last step is to fuse on the black back. This is a little bit narrower than the front. It's designed to inset into the wood back. Since visibility is not an issue here, I've left the paper on while I work to keep it from scratching. After peeling off the paper, I put it in the frame and I glue on the wood back. So let me show you the main problems with this as designed. If you're not careful, these bars can warp sideways during fusing, and that and the width of the column lets the top of those 31 tokens be variable. That second one is down a full token. Chemical fusing happens in seconds, so you really have to work quickly. But the main problem is that clear-on-clear fusing is totally unforgiving. I mean, I was terrible at the start. I got much better towards the end. You can see these bars here are pretty clear, but there's a better design that totally avoids this problem. Those bars should be cut out of black acrylic, not clear, and they should be fused to the back, and black on black you won't see any fusing marks. The clear acrylic doesn't need to be fused at all. It can be held in front like the glass in a picture frame. To do that, I would make the acrylic insert totally removable. That means the black back would be the same size as the front. You'd need 3 center wood spacers. The slot in the base would have to be adjusted for 5 layers of wood. And you'd have the option to make the wood back solid. But that's okay. I'm still going to use this one. It looks just fine, and it reminds me of how design is an iterative process. I have lots of other great projects I'm working on. If you're interested, please subscribe to my channel.